I will introduce our first speaker. This is Mr. Blake Sinclair from ALO Yoga. He's standing over there, and when he comes on stage, you'll see that he got a pretty solid haircut since this picture was taken. But I think it looks nice on him. But he was just looking in the mirror before saying, do I look? And I was like, Blake, you don't have to do that. There's no hair to you. Just, yeah. But Blake will give a speech on selling the vibe, turning e-commerce content into a story at ALO Yoga, and all the great things they're doing at ALO Yoga. Blake, come on stage. Good. There you go.
All right. Hi, everybody. I am Blake from ALO Yoga. I've been at the company for quite a while. I joined in 2013, but I'll get into that in a minute. So yeah, just selling the vibe at ALO. The story of how we have been telling stories through our e-commerce and the way that we use our PDP and all of the different digital marketing type places to sell a story and obviously, work the product into it as well. So quick background, grew up in Southern California, surfer, skater, all that stuff. Picked up a camera pretty early on, tried to shoot shoot surfing, skating, all that stuff. Learned real fast. I was bored. I don't want to be shooting that stuff. I want to be doing that stuff. So I quickly put the camera down, continued surfing and skating, and then really got into photography on its own. Love photography, grew up in the darkroom, started figuring all that stuff out, and just really dived in to photography. Went to school in Pasadena, ended up moving to New York, assisting, shooting all over the place around New York and LA. I ended up working in a pretty high-end retouching house in New York called Picture House for a bit, learning workflow, learning all of their scanning techniques and high-end, just really slow, meticulous campaign, editorial, commercial type retouching. So figured all that stuff out, moved back to LA, and at that point there we go. Landed a job at Quicksilver Roxy DC, and then was also doing retouching at Guess. So from that really slow, meticulous, painstaking type of campaign, high-end retouching into the fast fashion world of e-commerce of the 2010s was pretty shocking, kind of wild. Suddenly images needed to be. Is this thing working? Sorry, it sounded funny. Okay. So suddenly these images didn't get a day to work on. You needed to work through 50 in a day. And early days in the basement, really cramming through these images. I started to help build Quicksilver and Roxy and DC's in-house photo studios. And at that place, I was surfing a lot still, surfing at lunch, surfing at the before work, with a lot of the people that I worked with. So it was a really neat way to kind of really get into the brand. And I was able to bring back my passion as far as the things I loved and what I was doing, and working with a lot of different cross-functional people. I was working with the sales people, designers, tech design people, people in marketing, different people in merchandising. So it was really kind of democratizing as far as the way that the job went. And then I landed at Bella Canvas in 2013. So Bella Canvas was a wholesale t-shirt company that had a little brand called ALO at the time, which wasn't quite the ALO that we know today. But Bella Canvas sells wholesale t-shirts. Color is paramount, quality is paramount. I mean, we're selling a blue t-shirt, and we're not just selling 3 to a customer, we're selling 3 million to, wholesale type market. So these colors have to be perfect. Through the catalog, line guides, a lot of print collateral at the time, and eventually we started moving this stuff into our e-commerce. And that's kind of how it was at Quicksilver as well. A lot of these line guides, they're like, well, we got all this line guide collateral, let's just put it on the website. And you ended up with this stuff on the website, which is fine. You're selling the product, it's evenly lit, the colors look good, you can see the product. But there's no story, there's no vibe, there's no real root of what we are trying to sell. So this is essentially what ALO was looking like. We had like a little thing over the O, a little different back then. This is what our e-commerce looked like for ALO, for Bella Canvas. They brought me in to try and figure out how to really blend the two, having a more editorial vibe, because I came from a world of commercial, editorial type fashion stuff. But I did understand the necessity of a perfect, very clean, high quality, color accurate type of stuff. So I had to figure out how to make this stuff, which, was good in 2013. It looked good, it was in focus, and it was, the color was reading accurately. But make it tell a story. Kind of how do we sell the vibe a little bit more? So first day at ALO, didn't know what I was going to do. I had all these tools, had a photo studio, we had, retouchers at my disposal, but, what do we do? Within the first month of working at ALO, creative director dragged everybody in to our first yoga class. I had never taken yoga before. Most of our design team hadn't either. This is the early corner of ALO. This was literally ALO marketing of about 2013. I think now we take over a couple city blocks as far as building goes. But anyways, got thrown into yoga, hated it at first, eventually really grew to love it. And we all used to practice together, the whole team. I'm talking people from the entire hierarchy of corporate structure, sweating and moving together. So we all really loved this, this yoga, the practice, everything around it. I did my 200-hour. I still teach. Actually taught this morning. We've got most of our creative directors over the years have gone through teacher training just because they end up getting really pretty heavy in the paint. They really just kind of like it. And so our first lookbook in 2014, actually not the first lookbook, but the first one that I was there for, and showing yoga. We did yoga. So here's our yoga with our clothes on. Lit very well, clean, frontally lit. We started to sort of feel a bit of a disconnect as far as who we were as a yoga brand. So we started throwing a little bit more fashion. 2018-ish, we were shooting things a little bit more fashion forward, straightforward, still very lit well, frontal, not a lot of movement, not a lot of shape, not a lot of shadow, but we were showing a little bit more elevation, a little bit more of a, nice locations, but still showing the yoga postures. And that's kind of when we started to think about how we could work this stuff into our PDP, into our e-com. So eventually we shot one of our favorite yoga teachers, Carolina, in our e-com space. Just throw the yoga into the e-com space, which was fine. We're showing the yoga, showing the clothes, but still not really telling the story of what it's like to be a yogi. What is that yoga lifestyle? What is it about yoga that brings off of the mat and off of our, PDP page? So that is about when we brought in the gray wall era. Fake gray wall in our photo studio. We shot hundreds of thousands of images on this thing, but it started to bring a little bit more of that yoga, the postures, the physical practice of it all into a little bit more of like an elevated space, like a nice, industrial type of look. And then we just kind of kept moving, started throwing in a little bit more, more vibe, a little bit more styling, more posing. Props started entering the chat. We got some chairs, started doing some different things with our styling and layering and all of that stuff. And it started doing really well. We started really selling the story of what it's like to feel to be within the yoga lifestyle, and selling this, feeling of wellness and mindfulness about, athleticism and confidence and I guess all of that stuff. So we started working that into what we call digital marketing. It was like a DM side section of our e-com. We still shot e-com on a white background, very clean, just like we did for the line guides, because we still sort of needed to keep things consistent, but we started leaning a little bit more into this. So the off days between e-com and campaign, we would throw into some different lighting, different backgrounds, different, postures, again, more propping. And then we started building sets. So we built some sets, and this is about when we started getting into a little bit more of the, not so much the yoga and not so much the product, but what it's like to feel within that yoga lifestyle. Again, how do we feel when we're going to the studio, leaving the studio, maybe a bit of a recovery type of aspect of it all. And then lighting started getting a little bit more interesting. It was a little hard for me to let go of our good, clean, flat lighting because color correcting that stuff I can do it all day long. I can find anyone to do that. You get a little bit more shape, a little bit more darkness and shadows and highlights and all that stuff. It gets a little bit more intricate, and we need to start bringing in it just takes a little more work. So I had to start to scale up my crew. I started hiring some photographers, hiring digital techs. I had to step away from the camera. Both workflow, time, a grumpy shoulder, just kind of put me away a little bit. So I started backing off. I wasn't shooting e-com all the time. I started hiring some photographers, started hiring some digital techs, started hiring more retouchers, and started expanding into the workflow. So that's when I started kind of leaning back into what I learned at Picture House, that early retouching house that I was at. managing workflow for all that stuff, I started really delegating and moving people into these different parts of the puzzle and sort of orchestrating the whole thing. Started shooting into some darker stuff, obviously that's when we started getting a little bit more into selling this vibe of what it feels like. Not so much what the clothes look like, but what it feels like to wear the clothes. And then we started getting into changing our PDP. So we finally got a gray background of the PDP, which was really exciting. But, lighting was still relatively flat. We kept it very safe, a little bit clean. But, as we started moving along, we started throwing a little bit more shape in it, a little bit more propping. We're moving into some of the stuff that we would take on our campaigns. Our campaigns had a whole world. They were very beautiful, really fun places. Models were moving around, had a lot of life. We started working that slowly into our PDP as well. And that wasn't without a little kickback, because suddenly we weren't able to shoot 120 products in a day. We weren't able to have our model stand and turn in a circle and motor driving for the day. We had to get a little bit more vibe. So there was a little bit of, this is sort of where that communication with the different departments really came in handy, because what I learned at Quicksilver, surfing with these different people, we're all in this together. We're all trying to kind of build these brands. We're trying to sell a voice, trying to sell sort of a vibe, So we're all doing the same thing, and how can we work with each other to sort of make everybody's job easier, but also just less friction, less of a problem, and how that will help to elevate everybody. So eventually, we were able to move that metric down a little bit. Here we are in 2026, bringing in some more interesting lighting, allowing for a little bit more shape, a lot of movement, some interesting style, taking a lot of the stuff that we get from our campaign imagery and moving it into e-com, working really close with our different art directors, creative directors. Men's got a fresh look as well, which is a little different than the women too, but we're just kind of pushing more into that flavorful light. So that is when the fun part starts to happen, as we start to move our campaign imagery into PDP. It's funny, I was asked at one point if we deal with UGC content, which is the funky stuff you get from Instagram, from the influencers, and it could be varying degrees of quality, but it works. People love it. There's something that people really attach to it. So we do use UGC on our website, but I feel like there's also this weird cross-pollination between the way that the UGC looks and the way that our campaign imagery starts to sort of vibe together as well. It needs to be more accessible. It started to get to a point where now a lot of our campaign imagery has sort of lended this vibe of like, it's not this super high-end polished. I mean, it is it's very beautiful and it's very high-end, but it's not so polished to the point where the people looking at it don't feel that it's for them. We want people to feel that we're selling them, we're trying to show them within these images and all that. So with that comes the fact that when we do a campaign image or campaign shoot nowadays, I'm dealing with upwards of 3 to 4, maybe 5 different photographers. That's 4 or 5 different digital backs, digital cameras, and then they like to shoot film, and then they like to shoot Polaroids, and now they're shooting expired film. And I mean, it's a mess. It's all the stuff that I was fighting against back in college, all the color shifts and the funky, look, but that comes through my desk. So now I have to deal with all of the color grading, post-processing. It typically all goes through me. And if it's not through me, it's somebody that I'm working with really closely to keep that brand voice kind of cohesive and trying to keep it all the way through. And that's where it really comes down to my team. My post-production team and the different partners that we work with are great, and it's a lot of back and forth with the merchandising team, the design team. If they feel these colors aren't quite, showing the way that they're supposed to. So on our PDP, we've got digital on campaign with a really thick treatment on it. PDP in our studio with not as much treatment on it, a little film mixed in. And then this is what shows up on my desk. And then we match it to a digital swatch. So, a lot of back and forth, again, with a creative team. If they give me a style that it comes in and it's just really thick, great looking, don't get me wrong, but really thick, we talk about backing some things off. How can we make things really blend? Because eventually this is where it's all going to go. If they give me a really gnarly style on this thing and I got to color correct it perfectly to a swatch, because that's what our design team wants to see, it's going to look weird. So a lot of A/B, a lot of communication. Same thing, 3 or 4 different cameras, I think 3 different photographers. I got some film mix in there as well. on-camera flash, all that fun stuff. We have our digital swatch, and then what shows up in my desk, and then what ends up going out to the customer. Just that way, what the customer gets is going to be what they see on the website. I mean, that's the goal, really. It's not that exciting. And it's not rocket science, really. It's just a matter of giving people a good, clean reference and then going from there. Our images, we deal with through Figma. It's kind of the tech stack of it all, I guess, the different programs that we use. So back in the day, I was going to put a little jar out for every time I said back in the day, I'm going to put a quarter in it. But so I'll try and make that be the only time. But back in the day, we would take a bunch of CADs, we'd cut them out, tape them into a binder. The binder was about that thick, and that thing would go to our different locations and campaigns. And it was what it was. Nowadays we use them digitally within Figma, move it around with the teams. Our campaigns and our different capsule collections and stuff that's a little bit more editorial, a little bit more elevated. We nowadays are playing around with bringing in a fit model and shooting them on like a little styling set. I tried it with Gen AI. Take this CAD, throw it on the. I don't know. I couldn't really get it to figure it out. So. This is my real-life version of Gen AI. We're like, all right, generate it again. We throw it back to the styling team. They send the model back out with the different little outfit, different styling, different shoes, different glasses, a different vibe or whatever we're going to be doing. So what we're doing is we're starting to elevate the way that we treat all these assets. Previously, campaign was really the only thing that would get that much attention and that much love. But really, these campaign images, our PDP images, emails, really any of these digital marketing channels are being seen by the same amount of people that our campaign imagery is seeing. I mean, back when we were doing these early lookbooks, that stuff was only seen by sales team, buyers at different department stores. And that was getting all the love, getting all the budget, all the style outs, all the, all of this stuff. But then those images are being seen by not a lot of people. Maybe they end up on a banner on the website. Nowadays, we're giving this stuff a treatment and the love that it deserves from the ground up. My team has a little set built on the side. We will style out a fit model throughout the day. And then our e-com shot lists are basically in the same world. Deal with the little CADs. We shoot our different models. We have our days, our shots. Capture one, make and select. And then everything lives on Binder. Binder is our digital asset management system. It is a working system at this point. It works. It's clogged up. It's very full. But it is what it is. It's one of those things that I feel that as a company, we really didn't want to skimp on. We really just felt that a lot of this creative stuff is worth the investment. And it's been a lot of communicating and back and forth talking. I don't want to say arguing, but it's a lot of communicating with different people within the team. One of my favorite stories is when I first started Bella Canvas. I'm in the studio, I'm shooting flat t-shirts because that's what the sales team wanted. They wanted flat t-shirts, just pictures of our t-shirts. And I don't know, I just started and someone asked me to go shoot them, so I grabbed a rack, started shooting these little t-shirts. I hated shooting flats. I shot flats for years at Quick, and I had other people doing it. It wasn't my favorite thing to do, but it had to be done. So I'm doing it. And the owner of the company walks in. Danny walks in, he sees me shooting flats, and we had just met when I got hired a little bit before that. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm shooting flats for the catalog. He's like, I hate flats. And I'm like, I don't like flats either. He's like, I don't ever want to see flats. He's like, I don't. Like, he kind of told me, don't shoot flats. Like, figure out another way. Let's go talk to the marketing team, talk to the merch team. We'll shoot it on mannequin, or we'll shoot it on people. We're going to shoot it on other things. I think he felt that he saw the importance of investing in making sure that our creative flow is as the least resistance as possible so that the creativity could fly. So anyways, Binder is where all of our images are. It's a working system. At this point, like I said, we used to shoot about 120 products a day on our e-com set. Nowadays, we shoot about 60 products a day because, again, we've had to scale back a little bit of the churn and burn, the model burnout, let's just get a bunch of products done. They saw the importance through, again, lots of communicating, a lot of back and forth talks about this. If you give us a little more time to shoot this stuff, we can elevate our PDP, elevate our e-com, make it match our beautiful campaign imagery a little bit more. That's it. Thank you. right. You want that?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And now you have the opportunity to ask questions. Let's take this first question here that comes up. Like, what is the next thing you would like to add to your visual identity? Any specific content formats or maybe adjusting the PDP?
Yeah, so just, I guess, a pre-script to this. Is pre-script the right word to it? I don't make the calls all like that. I'm not a creative director. I do deal with them a lot. But as far as with the department that I deal with, because I do deal with all the photography, the photographers, I do deal with them. Obviously, I played around with Gen AI a little bit here and there. I'd like to see our video. We used to incorporate video a little bit more with our PDP, but what happened is we ended up having to find a baseline so we could all do it at the same time. So that got a little difficult. I think the cross-pollination between my photo team and our video team can start to get a little bit more, I guess, cohesive and work a little bit more together. So the video team can start to elevate as well in the PDP space. The video team, the stuff they do on these campaigns is insane. Like it's really, really cool. We got an insane video team, and their capabilities is pretty wild. And I would like to see that stuff start to pop up a little bit more, because the PDP is really where people are seeing most of our stuff, if they're not just looking on Instagram. So I'd love to see a little bit more of that, video and photo working together.
Cool, good. From the top, how do you think, how do you think, to what volumes can you keep the current operational system functioning well? And when would you need to scale it or outsource more?
Yeah, that's a good one. I feel like we're always kind of orange to redlining. But the way that I built the system and the way that honestly, the reason I've stayed at ALO as long as I have is because of that ability to scale in the way that I need to. When I've needed more people to come in and help out, they were game. When I needed to switch over to a cloud, we also used to be in-house with the server that was in a closet that was, using up all the air conditioning. And we were at capacity. I'd have to get more desks. I'd have to get better internet. We had to figure that out. When it was time to go cloud-based and build a system that was based off of through Asana, through Binder, through our different channels as far as working the system goes, our system was pretty manual. We've definitely entertained some companies to come in and help automate it a little bit more, and we have definitely, we do use Pixelz quite a bit, and we're very hybrid. We do have a lot of people that have been with me individually for the past 13 or so years. So it's hard to put a number on when we would really need to make a big change, because I think we're changing all the time. We're always pivoting. We're always adding on, expanding. So yeah, we're kind of always doing it. Yeah.
If we then say not what volume, but what do you think is the next, what's the next thing that you'll be changing in your operational system? You have something planned, or?
Yeah, we're talking with some different companies to help us out as far as becoming a little bit more efficient. I think it's mostly about transparency for the other teams.
Okay.
Because right now, when somebody's curious where an image is or when it's going to hit this different thing, they ask me. And I got to dig in my brain or check my emails or whatever, or, my little system. It'd be nice to have all that stuff be a little bit more transparent. Not that I don't love when people ask me, approach me and ask me questions about this stuff. It's good for me to keep some, personality going. But it'd be nice for them to check a system and have it all just sort of be there, and they can see it all. So that'd be nice. Transparency, I think, would be nice.
Good. I'll take the second one from the top here, because I'm a little curious about that.
Okay.
How did you, the creative team, show the value of slowing down your workflow from 120 SKUs pursuit to 60? How did you prove that value to the exec team? And who more often than not wants to see volume over quantity?
I'd say we just did it. We're a company, just based on...
Was it that easy? You just did it?
So, hang on.
Okay.
The way that the company has always operated, and the way that it's a very entrepreneurial type spirit at this company, to the point where they tell you to, don't ask for permission, but beg for forgiveness. So we didn't really, we asked for permission for a couple years, and it was kind of like, sorry, we have this much, we got to get it done. So after a while, we're like, well, look, we're going to do it this way. We did it this way. We did a beautiful shoot. We did some amazing PDP style e-com, kind of like a test day, where we did a couple days on model. We did not hit 120. We hit closer to 60 or 80, maybe even less because it was a bit of a test day. We presented it. We said, here it is, and I made it match. I wasn't such a major shift to the point where, like, if it was up on the PDP with the same stuff that existed the year before, that it was shockingly different. We kind of did it in a way that looked good enough to use, and they saw the value in it. I think they saw it looking so much better. I think the people that make the calls, they, was that question, who makes the calls? I forget if that was a question or not.
No, but I'm curious when you say they saw the value, right?
Uh-huh.
How do you measure that value? Because one thing is what you the look and feel, right, and the brand and the whole position, all that kind of stuff you're building. Another thing is hardcore conversion rates. Yeah.
So I don't know the data on conversion rates. I think we're doing fine. My guess. I'm still employed, and we're moving along. It's a growing company, which is awesome. But on a personal level, as I mentioned, we used to do yoga classes with every person within the structure of that company. So when the owner of the company loves something and he loves the images, we're happy. That to us is the value, and he's not wrong. I mean, he's got when he didn't want me shooting flats, he wanted to see something more beautiful. We went that way, and it made moves. So same thing with ALO. When they see the difference in the visuals, and there's a lot of I guess they really see the importance of our beautiful creative, and they always have. I mean, our VP of marketing at this point was a creative director for us. She understands beautiful imagery, and she understands how important that is. So for us, they're happy. That's it.
That brings me to the next one. I'm going to take number 2 from the top. Have you started implementing AI in workflows and/or content, and has there been a big push for it at ALO? Or is it kind of like, okay, as long as everyone's happy and what you do is super good, then you don't feel that pressure, or how is it?
That's
and
me.
I'm also asking because we talk to a lot of companies, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of studios, and it feels like someone from C-level or someone came in, threw an AI hand grenade, closed the door, and ran away, right? And then shouted, just do it. It's not that difficult. It's a lot cheaper.
I'm going to plead the fifth. No, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I think people hear the AI thing, they get all excited, they throw it in, and they try and force it. They say, we got to start doing this stuff. I don't know why. It's not, I don't know why that is, but it definitely is a thing. It's definitely, there's been some emails like, hey guys, let's start implementing a little bit of AI here and there. I think they're probably doing it in a way to get people to start to get uncomfortable. Not in a way that AI is going to be doing anything, but uncomfortable in the way that they're shaking up your workflow. Try some new things. It was a joke about the fit model AI generating the outfits in the styling room, then coming back out and we shoot it in real life. But yeah, there's AI implemented in my workflow quite a bit. I expect my retouchers to be using it. I expect the different people within my workflow to be using it. I don't ask, I don't tell, I don't really care. If the images that show up on my desk are fast and good, really good, then great. If it's not, and I can see weird artifacting or something like that, then no dice. So yeah, I definitely expect AI to be part of the workflow. It's a part of all of our workflow.
Yeah. Already. Yeah. Good. I'm going to take the top one here, right? Because you described that whole journey you've been through with the PDP, and so what's the biggest thing you found that doesn't work in PDP besides the flats?
And they might work. I don't know. It really depends.
For some, it might.
It honestly depends on the industry. Yeah. Because that's what's funny about. I work at Bella Canvas and ALO. I still deal with both brands. ALO is obviously the one everyone sees and knows about. 13 years ago, no one knew who ALO was. It was all Bella Canvas. So I do have to deal with that side of the business. So it is interesting. That side of the business is a lot of flats, a lot of mannequin, a lot. I mean, we've talked with Gen AI a lot because their stuff is just this, you know. For the most part, we do shoot it on people because we do want it to feel real and look good as best that we can. So stuff that I have seen not work great on PDP, God, that's tough. I also don't know because I don't know the data. I hate to give an answer based on just my feeling, but being there so long, the stuff that keeps coming back is good light, good color, not a crazy heavy treatment as far as our PDP stuff goes, and then consistency. It's really just it's the basics. I always see the basics have always just come back. The stuff really never goes out of style. Quick sidebar, we did a crazy campaign with Stephen Meisel for our handbags. This is Stephen Meisel. Like, this isn't, any of the other photographers that are around for the past 10 years. And the creative comes back and it's beautiful. It's just girls lit well on a gray background. It's beautiful and clean. And one of my junior photographers, he's like, "Oh man, I saw the Meisel stuff. I don't know, man. I was expecting more." And I'm like, dude, this stuff is beautiful. Like, if you look at it, it's perfect. Like, the modeling is perfect. The posing, the lighting, everything is just dialed in so well. It's just so classic, and it gave me another look at this stuff, because you see stuff with so much just like dirty lenses and funky treatment and like blurry business. It is beautiful and it's fun, but like that clean, there's something so nice about a good, clean, minimal thing, and I don't think that is ever really leaving PDP, whether we pose differently and style it differently.
Good.
Yeah.
I'll take one more question. I almost feel like taking the top one. I think we paid someone $20 to ask that question. But, I won't. I'll take the second one from the top instead, okay? Because being the company you do and also using influencers, doing it proactively, right? How controlled is your UGC? And are you ever happily surprised by UGC, and does it, inspire how you approach things internally? Is it filtered, unfiltered, QA'd? How do you approach that?
We've been through it all.
You've been through it all?
We used to create our own UGC. They send me out with these yogis, and I would go shoot. We'd control it. We'd color correct it. We'd make it look as beautiful as we could, and that stuff did not perform all that great. Okay. They look good. They were clean and pretty and all that stuff, but as far as curating goes, again, like, that's not really my department. That's more the social team, and they're the ones that communicating and all that stuff. I would say that there's a good little cross-pollination between the way that some of the UGC looks and the way that we deal with our creative. Like I said, that like more approachable look, a little bit more real. We want things to not feel so distant from people because, again, like, we want people to see themselves in our lifestyle, in our, this mindful movement type of, you hear all these buzzwords, but yeah, that's what we really want to see. We want to see people in that world. Cool. So yeah. All right.
Thanks. You, Blake. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.